Welcome to A Women's Brew, where women talk about beer. In today's episode, we recap our Women's History Month experiences and take some time to interview the two people closest to the pod, us. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. This one might be an interesting one today.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be interesting before to do like an interview of each other, and then we were like, oh, because we're doing all these like women focused things, like why don't we, I mean, if we're going to interview people for the podcast for Women's Month, we're going to interview a woman or something, you know, very female based, why not just interview each other and bring that forward? So I think it'll be interesting. We've written some questions for each other, and then we have some questions that people sent to us, and we also pulled like our top like 3 or whatever speed dating questions because somebody recommended we use speed dating questions, and
I thought I think that was
idea. Brilliant. So we're going to speed date each other today, so it's going to be great. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. And then obviously at the end of the episode, we are going to have our long awaited beer that you will have heard us I'm going to just tease it, I'm not going to say what it is, but you will have heard us talk about it last week.
I mean, if you haven't heard us talk about it, where have you been? You've
not been following us on the socials, you've not been listening to the podcast. Like, we're not going to say what it is because obviously it's a complete mystery, you're never going to know.
So before we get into all the other stuff, the very first episode that we did was highlighting 3 women in beer that we really enjoy, and we enjoy their beers. That was Jaeger Wise at Wildcard, Sophie Durand at Burnt Mill, and Julia Hunter at Aura. Now she has moved on from there since then, I know, but she is still brewing. So we thought we'd give you a list of other breweries. I put this list together just now. I feel like I've missed somebody. If we've missed a brewery that is either co-owned by women, there's women who are on the brew teams, etc., let us know because we want to know all of them. But these are the ones that I've got for you today. And Tori, do jump in if I miss somebody. And
we'll do
something.
I mean, you'll probably remember, like, I feel like on the spot where you've got the list in front of you, you'll probably be on it. But if I can think of anything off it on the top of my head, I'll do it. But before we do, I've had a day. I'm feeling extra spicy. I want to open my beer up.
Well, so actually on our list is double barreled, because Lucy co-owns double barreled, and there are several women in the brew team, in the brewery team, in the management teams, all of that. So
and they hosted an international women's collaboration brew day this year.
Did.
I'd already agreed to go to Sheffield when I realised
we may well have gone there.
This one that was a bit more local to me, but I regret nothing because it was a really great time in Sheffield regardless. Admittedly, the one that I have is past its BB because mine's different to yours.
Is yours different to mine?
Yeah, it is. It's past its BB. Admittedly, I'll hands up on that, not by much, and it's a go, so I imagine it'll be fine. But I thought I'd put that out there before someone listens and goes, I know that one, and that one's past its BB.
So we both got, for those that are listening, we have got a version of Punnet. Mine is the red currant and black currant, and there's a fruited kettle sour. And what's yours?
Mine is blackberry and black currant, and it's a fruited gose.
That's exciting. Yeah, mine.
Mine's a 5.5%. What's yours?
5%. Similar.
Oh.
Nice sessionable beer for Monday night because we're recording on a Monday night.
Yeah, my one that wasn't past its BE was a bit higher in ABV, and I was like, it's also still Monday, and I have to wake up and go in the office.
Mine is a beautiful hazed pink, like raspberry pink, and it's got a pink tinged head.
Mine is gorgeous. Look at that. Look at the head on that. Look at the gorgeous pink head on that.
Yeah,
loving it. It smells fruity. I picked this one up. I believe I picked this one up at the Hive which is local to me. And I don't know if it was this one or a different one, but I did create like a bit of a mix. Like I did like a beer blender of this and something else that was on tap. I don't remember what it was, but it ended up being amazing. So they're like their sours and their gozes like mix so well with other things as well, if you want to play around and experiment.
Yeah, I've got a nice bit of
smells like a punnet.
lactic tartness on mine. It's lovely. Oh yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Red currants and black currants tend to be a bit tartar, definitely. And I'm getting the nice wheat in the background. It's a bit grainy on the back. It's lovely.
I think I'm getting a fair amount of blackberry. I mean, both the blackcurrant and the blackberry, really. It is really lovely. It is very tart, and it's probably perfect if you're a person that really likes a tart beer. The tartness on mine is definitely coming through like towards the back end more. There's like a nice sharp bite at the end. It's really nice. Lovely colour, lovely taste.
I like it.
Thank you. So let's proceed with the list.
Right, so we've had double barreled. There's also Georgina Young. Now she was head brewer at Fuller's. Then she moved to Bath Ales. She is now brewery director at St Austell. So there you go. Obviously, Duration is co-owned by Miranda. There is Brewster's in Lincolnshire. Tartarus is co-owned, as well as is Echo by the lovely Helena, who we have had on. New Barnes has Emma. I think she co-owns. Don't know if she's the brewer. Jump Ship has Sonia, who is the brewer. Abbeydale is co-owned by Sue. Neptune up in Liverpool, co-owned and brewer is Julie. Nomadic, gaffer at Nomadic is Katie. We met her the other day. Then we've got Red from First and Last. Obviously, we interviewed Red. She's wonderful. Then a brewery. So I got this list off of Crafty Beer Girls, which is a community and industry Facebook group for women in the beer industry. So there's a couple of breweries on here that I've not heard of.
Oh, okay.
Colour Coats Brewery. They have Anna. Durham Brewery. Now I have heard Durham, and I think I drank some of their beers quite a while ago. They have Ellie. Brick Brewery is co-owned and has 2 brewers who are women. Brew York has women on the brewery team. Cloudwater has women on the brewery team. Wildcard obviously has Jager. Play Brew Co has a women-led brew team. Good Chemistry has Kelly on the brew team. Mothership, obviously the lovely Jane. We've spoken to her before. Villages has Zoe, who is one of the brewers. Jawbone is co-owned by Emma. 5 Points Brewing has Alicia and Alana on the brew team. Quantuck is owned by Cheryl. Fierce is co-owned by Lucy. Obviously, our lovely friends Merakai. The lovely Emma is there. Toast Ale was co-founded by Louisa. Coalition has the lovely Charlotte Cook on the brew team. Harbour Brewing has a female-led brew team. Heist has a friend of the show, Rachel, as one of their brewers, and some lovely women working in the rest of the team as well. Lost Industry is co-owned by Helen, and there is a woman on the brew team at Buxton as well.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Wild Beer Co.
Yes, the lovely Jane. Oh, I forgot Jane. Yep, works at
So
hi, Jane.
I was going to say, I was like, unless she's moved on,
no,
or I'm
Jane's still
confusing it.
Laura has moved though. I know that Laura, who worked there as well, she's moved to Denmark.
So there was also Frankie is a co-owner at the park. There is Becky at Nirvana, which is no alcohol. So if you're into that kind of thing and you want to support, women owners in there, that's one to go to. There's Fiona, who is the co-owner and the original brewer of Loch Lomond. Who else is there? I feel like I'm thinking on toes here.
Lakes Brew Co is co-owned, I believe. 71 Brewing, I think, has got women on the brew team, and Belfields, which is the gluten-free brewery up in Scotland, they have women on the brew team as well. So many.
So there's also, I don't know how it took this long to pop into my brain, Grace at Liquid Light.
Oh my God, how can we forget Grace? Hi, Grace.
Literally, I think it's just the thing of like when you talk to people and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, mental note that you just don't, when you're on the spot, you're like, okay, like you're trying to think of things and then it just goes out your head. And then all of a sudden I was like, bring it back to the obvious here. I mean, I know that we're definitely missing so many. Like,
yeah, tell us all the ones. Like, and I mean, the thing is, there's always going to be someone that's going to turn around to us and go, well, it doesn't matter who brews my beer as long as it's good beer. Totally agree. However, let's highlight these people because, and as well, you know, queer brewing. We've got Lily. You know, I
was going to mention that as well. Yeah.
You know, we've got all sorts of people out there who are brewing, but some of them don't get as much recognition as others. So just do a little highlight. Oh, Pip works at Salt, and of course she started Coven Brewsters. We'll talk about them again towards the end of the episode, but they do collaboration brews with other breweries as well.
I think it's not even all so much friends. As well. It's not even so much as well saying, well, you know, you're right. It doesn't matter who brews your beer, how they identify or anything like that. It doesn't matter who owns it and how they identify. Like, as long as their ethics are good and, you know, they're a person that you can have common ground like that you feel happy supporting, like that's great. But also, I don't think there's anything wrong with promoting the visibility, because it means that other people can see themselves in that role as well.
Yes.
Because I think it is very important to highlight the visibility.
You can be it.
It is very much like sometimes you could think to yourself, if you don't see that there's all these like female brewers hustling like out there, you might think to yourself, if you are someone that identifies as female, you might turn around and go, well, where do I fit into that equation? Because clearly it's a man's job, and clearly, you know, as a woman, maybe I'm not capable of doing this job, or else I would see more female identifying people doing it. And so I think that's another reason why it's really important to call those people out, or those breweries out that do have you know, strong females representing, whether that be in the ownership, in the brewing, both, beyond that, really, to be honest.
Just I think it's important, like not just women.
It is, and I mean,
color, people, queer folk, non-binary folk, like all the different peoples.
Completely. And I do think that it is hard work, but that's not to say that like hard work doesn't equal a particular gender. Like, if, you know, maybe you aren't you aren't the type of person that can lift bags like that regardless of your gender, it doesn't matter. Maybe you are a person that can. I think it's just important to get that visibility and to call it out for that visibility, and to support the people that are showing that, you know, visibility, to show that we're there to support them. So that's just my 2 unsolicited pee on the matter. So
I don't think it's unsolicited. We're literally doing an episode about it.
Well, yeah, for all intents and purposes, unsolicited pee. Cool. So hopefully that gave you some ideas of the current list of who you can sort of
buy her beer. That's a great hashtag. I like that one.
Yes, I like that one as well. But honestly, like, if we missed any, I'm sure I'm not gonna say if we missed any, I'm sure we missed a whole bunch.
Yeah, I'm sure
probably some glaringly obvious ones where people that we know are probably like, what about me?
Didn't say Burnt Mill.
I mean, I feel like because we like sort of called it out at the start, that was not on the forefront of the mind. But yeah, honestly, like, feel free to message us and we'll make sure we add it in somewhere down the line. You know, fine. Happy days. So I'm excited. This next part I'm a bit excited about.
Yes, because this is your brainchild.
My brainchild. But also, it's just because, so this was before we get into this, let's crack our next beer open, which is one of my favorites, which is the Echo Black Smoked Porter. I absolutely love this beer. Honestly, so sessionable. Love it so much. Yeah, can't wait to drink this bad boy, because it wasn't available for a while, and then we got it in a pack of international Women's Day set
Yep.
that was released by Merakai.
I don't think we've actually mentioned this on the podcast, so
We
I think
haven't.
we probably should before people are like, what are you talking about? We have been asked to curate a bar at the Arundel Friends Brew Fest.
I'm very excited about
very
it.
excited, very honoured. And on our bar will be the lovely Echo. We're also going to have Full Circle and Heist.
It's such difficult. I just want to stop and say, like, it was a really difficult decision.
It was.
Like, I feel like we
several
know
in our back pocket just in
there
case.
were so many, and then the problem is like you could only pick 3. Like everyone could only pick, like you couldn't have duplication. So if you picked a brewery and someone else already picked it, it was like that was a no-go, like sort of thing. So we had to like sit there and be like, all right, first time round, we need to come up with like the best list we can because we just need to make sure that we fit everything in there. And it was like so difficult. And then there was like certain ones were like, oh, this one's really good, but like everyone will probably pick. We wanted to highlight people that we know, we love, that make really great beers, that we have, you know, really good connections to, because, you know, it's Arundel and friends. We wanted to be like, let's showcase our friends.
To showcase our friends. And I think we are.
And we wanted it to be something that maybe not everyone's just gone out and been like, oh yeah, but like, you know, with Echo, maybe not everyone's gone out and been like, oh yeah, I just go pick up an Echo order today. So we were very conscious of picking things like that. And I'm really excited. I think we've got a really great lineup.
Yeah, we've got some tasty offerings. We have some tasty beers on our bar. So if you're going, or if this has now made you want to go buy a ticket, go get one. Come say hello to us.
We will be there.
Yeah,
the Friday and both Saturday sessions, and we will probably be working the bar for the majority of it. So yeah, come and say hi, try out the beer. We may or may not have the beer that we made for International Women's Collaboration Brew Day. I don't know, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's going to be F-wording interesting. So you are going to want to try it if you like interesting beers.
We're good. Yeah.
But yeah, that was like a way to lead into like we're going to talk about a beer, and then also we're going to be like, oh, by the way,
go buy some tickets.
Yeah, go buy tickets. So yeah, the next part of this episode is definitely my brainchild, but I just because I thought it'd be really interesting to interview each other, because I know that, I don't know how you feel, but when I scroll through Instagram and I see other people that like I have beer in common with, but I don't really know that much else about them. Maybe occasionally they make a post of doing a hobby they enjoy or something, and I'm like, I didn't know that about you. That's really interesting. Or they share something else that they're passionate with that's outside of beer, or an interesting story, or something that fun that's happened to them. I really enjoy seeing those things outside of beer, and I think a lot of times beer Instagram can feel like there's a lot of pressure to just be all about the beer all the time. And likewise, I think that people lose a sense of like thinking of people on Instagram or social media in general as like real people that have real hobbies and real lives, and then not everything revolves around what they do on social media. So I mean, I thought it would just be quite interesting in promoting the spirit of, you know, equality and inclusivity for everyone, that maybe on our end we could just open up a bit more about ourselves, that people could learn more about us outside of just what we talk about beer wise. Don't know how you feel about that, but yeah, I
mean, I suppose it depends on what you've signed up to follow that person about.
That's true.
Like, you know, if you're just following the person because you quite like the person, then yeah, you want to see all round. But if you're just following them to see what their beer opinions are, then you may not be as bothered.
Yeah, I guess for me it's like I quite like being like, I follow you for your beer stuff, and then also if I find out something interesting about you that I can relate to, that makes me want to root for you even more. Like that makes me want to continue to follow you. Whereas like if I find out that actually your morals are something that I can't get behind,
that's an unfollow.
Then I'm like, oh yeah, no,
deal breaker.
So, exactly. So that's probably kind of why I like seeing you, because I like to have that connection with people. So I thought in the spirit of people getting to know us a bit better. I mean, you didn't really ask for it, people, but I thought it'd be interesting and fun. So
you're getting it because Tori's excited about it. So
yeah, I'm excited about it. So we're doing it, and that's that. So yeah, we've got some questions for each other. I've written down my questions very studiously on a piece of paper. Oh, so we've got our questions together. I'm gonna keep sipping on this deliciously tasty beer and read it. You want to alternate 1 and 1?
Yeah, you can go first. Right. It was your idea.
All right. Cheers. I'm the one that's super excited about it. You're just along for the ride. And speaking of being along for the cruise, it's a cruise-based question. I'll start with that. What drew you to what you've obviously told us that you worked on cruise ships before? I don't think that's a mystery to anybody. You've talked about that was your sort of how you first got to your experience of getting into craft beer. What drew you to working on cruise ships? And is that something that you think, like living that lifestyle, do you think that's something that you could go back to doing now, or do you think you'd struggle?
No, I could not go back to that lifestyle now. I can answer that one very quickly.
That was not even like, you didn't even think about it.
I don't even have to think about
how you went, okay. And then I went, would you go back to it? You're like, no. Immediate no. That was like an immediate no. Immediate no.
100% no. Because I've thought about it. Like, I've thought about it. I've still got friends that are working on cruise ships. And I'm just like, no. Like,
would it make a difference if Gordon could go with you? Would you be like, oh, if the two of you, or would it just be the overall lifestyle? You'd just be like,
no. There's like, I could do a whole other podcast episode about the pros and cons of working on cruise ships. I personally feel like for the role that I did, which was in the theatre department as the wardrobe supervisor, which is literally only a role that's available on like 2 cruise lines out of all of them, because that's a whole other dealio of how that works. But you put up and you shut up. Like, you don't get, if you're not an officer, you don't get, like, we had privileges because we were the entertainment department, but only to a certain point. And then there's other privileges that you are just like, you know what, it's fine, I don't need a room with a window for 10 months.
Oh, I'd hate that.
And I can live with someone I've never met before for 6 months, because there's other things, other benefits of working on cruise ships that you get. I'm at the point now where I'm like, no, I'm not going to sacrifice that, Soz.
Mate, you say that. I literally, for a work thing, was like, we've got these hotel rooms that we got for a Christmas party that didn't happen, and we're going to Bristol on Friday, and they were like, oh, we've got these rooms, so if you guys want to stay in Bristol, you can stay in Bristol. But for the Christmas party, we were originally supposed to share rooms with somebody else, and like, I love the people I work with. Yeah. It has nothing to do with them. No. But I barely share rooms with people outside. I share rooms with my husband, obviously, or my family, but I barely share rooms with like people I'm friends with. Yeah. Unless I really need to. And it's someone that I've had to have known for like at least 5 years. And it's not even because of them. It's because of me and my self-consciousness, like sleeping. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to stay. And then they were like, yeah, actually everyone gets, like, we don't have enough people going, we've got more hotel rooms, so you can have your own room. And I was like, I guess I'm gonna stay in Bristol then, so it's fine. Like, it's that kind of thing. I can't imagine being with a complete stranger for like 6 months. Seriously, I can't do one night. I'd be like no.
There's this whole, I don't know whether it happens in other industries and stuff, but because you're living with these people, like living with your cast, living with these people, like, they become like your family because you're just with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like the whole time. And then you go in and you start living with this person that you may have never met before, and either they're really great or they're just really not. Like, there's no grey area in the middle. Like, I've had like, amazing roommates.
Question would have been like, how did you not murder?
Friends with them, and there's some that I'm just like, if I ever see you again, we're gonna have problems.
It'll be too soon. You were like, you're just thinking like, let's get to international waters,
right?
And then no. But what actually drew you to it then in the first place? Was there something specific about it, or was it just an interesting opportunity?
It was literally an opportunity. As a wardrobe person, as a costume person, unless you get like onto the West End or something like that, you are working contract to contract, and I just got offered a contract. And then it happens that I was really good at it, so they just kept giving me contracts, so you just kept going.
How do you, just out of sheer curiosity, this is not one of my questions, but just follow-up question to that, not about murder, how did you actually find the job on a cruise ship? Did you know it was on a cruise ship at the time you applied for it? Or like, where do you go if somebody listening was like, that sounds really interesting, maybe it's not the same now, but like, where did you go to find a job?
Trade papers. The stage is the trade paper for all theatre gigs, and they just put that what they used to. I mean, I don't know now. This was 2006, so it's a fair time ago. There's probably boards online now and Facebook groups and things like that. But yeah, there was an advert in there that they were looking for wardrobe, that this particular product, because I started working for the production company, and then partway through my time working on cruise ships, the cruise line decided to become their own production company. So I then transferred over to the cruise line rather than the production company. So the production company had just put out, I think it was an advert for dancers and singers and like an open audition for that. And then they were like, wardrobe people as well, email this.
And I guess, but also wardrobe people.
Right, and also wardrobe people. Because they need significantly less wardrobe people. You only have, I mean, some of the bigger ships now have more than one, of the cruise line that I worked for. Wardrobe supervisors, there's generally one per ship, depending on the size. There you can have there was up to 3 on one of the bigger ships I went on to.
Interesting.
You can have stitchers, but you do kind of one-off. You come on for a couple of weeks, do the turnover, and then go again.
It's about like if someone comes on and you're changing, like you're adjusting, when we change over the cast,
so the whole cast would, like the way we did it was the whole cast would swap over every 6 months. So then you'd have extra people that would come on to help you get through that, because I would literally I go through my Facebook memories, and there'll be posts that are like, I'm going missing for a week because it's changeover, and you just I wouldn't post for a whole week because I was working like 100-hour days. 100-hour weeks, 20-hour days. My first record was a 17-hour straight day, and then I topped that with a 20-hour straight day. Welcome to working in theatre. The show must go on.
Yeah, I mean, if this was really, really something that's right up your alley, if she's just sold it to you right there with 17 to 20-hour days sometimes, and no windows.
No windows.
Just for 6 months.
But I got to visit loads of interesting countries. So, and I met so many amazing people. Some people not so amazing, but
the trade-off has to be like incredible. I mean, like, think about it. You got to go to Alaska. You got to go to Alaska brewing.
Yeah, Alaska was one of my favorite places. Hawaii.
So jealous about
that. Was my first. So my first contract, I got told I was going to the Caribbean. So you pack accordingly.
Not a bad
because you're going to the Caribbean, right? And I was going to be on the ship for 10 months. Technically, you're only supposed to do. Generally, they would only do 6. This one was 10 because there was like a weird crossover. You're only allowed to be on the ship for 10 months at a time, because otherwise you go a little bit stir crazy, because you haven't got a window. And there are times when they can tell you can't get off. So
yeah, like that.
Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. But I was like, yeah, 10 months. Got told I was going to the Caribbean. Like 3 months in, they were like, yeah, so we're going to reposition. And I was like, what's that? Oh, so for the season, like, we're going to move for the summer. We're going to move somewhere else. We're going to Alaska. And I was like, sorry, what? I had to buy a winter coat. I had to buy winter boots. Like, I mean, in the summer, you get really beautiful days in Alaska, and sometimes you don't. So you do need some slight more layers than you would in the Caribbean, let's say.
Yeah. It's like, that would not be a fun change up of expectation versus. I'm sure it's like gorgeous once you're there.
Absolutely,
but
can you
imagine being like told though, like, yeah, you're gonna go to like Hawaii or the Caribbean or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, change course, we're going to Alaska.
I did 4 months in the Caribbean, 4 months in Alaska.
That must be such a drastic change as well, to go from the Caribbean to Alaska.
The fun bit is, the really fun bit is when you do repositioning, because then you do about 3 weeks where you just go and do really interesting stuff while you're moving to wherever you're going. I've been through the Panama Canal 4 different times.
Cool.
One time I thought the ship was going to have to be pulled out by horses because the ship was literally dying.
Oh no.
And they refused to put it into dry dock to fix it on the west coast. They wouldn't do it until we got to the other end, and it was because it was cheaper in the Caribbean. And we were just like, this ship's going to die in the middle of the Panama Canal, and we're going to have to be like pulled out by horses. It didn't. We made it to the Caribbean. It was fine.
That's
But we
stressful.
skipped a bunch of ports because they weren't going to make it because we couldn't go fast enough because the engine was dying.
Jeez. Well, yeah, that's my question answered. Also, I'm really enjoying like I don't know if you noticed, like there's like a salinity like to this beer. Like there is like this nice salty. It's not like normally I don't like when there's too much saltiness in a beer, and I wouldn't say this is too much at all. I feel like it's just a very nice balance.
I think
It like balances out the smokiness,
a savouriness to it.
Yeah, I think it's like that just lovely balance and accompaniment to the smoke. It's nice. It's a really nice thing. I just wanted to say, because I didn't really call that out when we first talked about tasting notes, but yeah, that's in there and it's really lovely.
Yeah. Is it my turn now? Mm-hmm. Right. So, despite, other than your husband.
Yeah. Well, where's this going? I'm nervous.
What were your reasonings for, like, what did you think about when you were moving to the UK from the US? Pros and cons.
No, so to be honest, I always hate saying this because then when I tell people like the full story, like people then think that it was like a ploy, and I can tell you like it 100% was not. I always, like, even since I was a kid, really, really like had a fondness for the UK. I growing up, I was a massive avid reader. Like my sister used to read to me before I could really properly like read myself. One of my sisters did. Like I remember I had this book of like children's Shakespeare stories that I used to read when I was old enough to read by myself, and like all that kind of stuff. So like even from a young age, like knew about sort of like English stuff. As a preteen going into a teenager, like my favorite book series was the Angus Thongs in Full Frontal Snogging, so the Georgia Nicholson series that was by Louise Renison, which is based on like a group of teenage girls or pre-teenage girls in the UK. I listened to a lot of like British bands. My dad was a massive Beatles person, so I was raised on the Beatles, like all that. My oldest sister, like she used to watch the Young Ones and all that stuff, and I used to watch that with her, and Monty Python and all. So I think there was always like this love and appreciation of the UK, and I was always like, someday I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to go to college over there and I'm going to go live over there. I mean, before realizing the reality of you can't just up and move somewhere. But yeah, so then obviously I met my husband. We were intending on only being friends. Like literally I was like, nope, this is not, we live too far apart realistically, like it's not going to work out, sort of thing. And then we just kept talking to each other, playing games, like video games with each other, all that kind of stuff. And then it came down to like, well, we want to be together, so the way that we have to do that, for us to be able to live together, we have to get married. And I don't mean that in a way of like we wouldn't have wanted to be married by any means. Like I don't want that to be misinterpreted. It's like if we were in the same country, we could happily live together and not like and be totally happy with that. But yeah, you got to do the legal things to be able to do the move-in. Don't regret anything. Happy, very happy. But it came down to, well, where are we going to live? Are we going to live in the US? For to make it less identifiable. Already he had a car that he absolutely loved, that he didn't, he doesn't want to give his car up even now. It's hilarious. All that kind of like all that stuff sort of factored in. So it was just sort of like, who has more to give up, family things aside, and it just weighed out that actually it was probably better for me to go there. Also, I never finished uni. So there you go. That's a fun fact for you. I never finished uni. So career-wise, it was better for me to build a career over here than it was going to be for. He also didn't go to uni. So to try for 2 people without a uni degree in the US is, one person alone is difficult. 2, yes, not great. So yeah, that's it. Wasn't really anything about, like, I always loved the UK, but there wasn't anything in my decision that was like, Rick aside, I want to go there for this. It was more like, Rick's there, and here's all the benefits of that as well, of like, well, we can travel around Europe like quite easily, and we can do all this stuff and overall have a better life together. That makes sense. Yeah, that's the answer to my question. There you go.
Okay.
Not sure it's as interesting as that cruise ship chat, but I'll take it. So what do you consider your biggest accomplishment or your most proud moment to date? And like, you can give one that's within beer and one that's outside of beer.
Ooh,
that's a really good one, isn't it? That's a good one though, isn't it?
Yeah. So I suppose that the pinnacle of my wardrobe career was working for Kiss, because cool. You can't really top that, can you?
No, you can't.
Getting serenaded by Gene Simmons.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I think so far, because there's still space within my beer career, shall we call it, just this International Women's Day, like, I stood there, like, well, I took the moment to make sure that, because Rachel organised our day at Heist.
It was an amazing day. Yeah,
it was an amazing day, and I made her stand still and like look at what she'd done because she'd been stressing about it. Hi, Rachel.
I'm sure she loves that word specifically, like Rachel.
Rachel. But as well, I kind of realised then that, like, when I went to my first International Women's Collaboration Brew Day back in 2019, I was looking to these women that were like getting on, like, in the brew house, knew what they were doing, getting on with it, doing, okay, I'll do this bit, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're teaching that, la, la, la. Like, I was one of those women this time. Like, I've become the woman that I look to see what to do. And I was then there helping to bring other women in. I think that's an achievement.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
I'd say inside of beer, every time I think that I've like hit something that's really the coolest thing, I think that I never would have seen happening, I then hit something that's even cooler. Like, it's the I don't know, it's the like, oh cool, I've been asked to do a collaboration. Like, we did a collaboration with a brewery. Like, we were fully asked to do that. We didn't approach anybody about doing it. Like, that was cool, and I thought that was the coolest thing. But then that was topped by being like, oh cool, now that's physically being poured on tap somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool. And it's like,
was in a Women on Tap showcase.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally even forgot about that. Yeah. We got literally,
not only was it on tap, it was in the Women on Tap showcase.
Yeah, and we got to do a podcast.
We were commissioned by Women in Tap
to do something like that. Was really cool.
Highlight women's voices.
Almost forgot about that. And then like that happened, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna go. I did an International Women's Collaboration Brew, a double brew day, and like double brew day. But that's not even the first time that I got a chance to commercially brew, which was super cool. And now it's like, cool, I've got my face on a can. Like, that's my face.
That's pretty cool as well.
If you're looking at the video, like, that's my face. That's Joe's face. Our faces are on a can. Like, that is cool. But then cool. I sit there and I go, yeah, that's really fucking cool. But then we're talking on this episode and we're like, yeah, so we're just gonna have a bar at a beer festival. And it's like, I didn't, all these things, I mean, even like I was like, I have to order as many of these cans as I can, because I don't know if my face is ever going to be on something. But then I said that, like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to brew a beer again. And then my face ended up on a can alongside other amazing badass women. So I don't know. I keep taking every opportunity as like, this could be the only time I ever get to do this. And then just something even more cool happens. And it's like,
isn't that life advice?
Amazing breweries, like,
take the opportunities. And like, if you like, going back to where we were like, let's show people that they can be in this space. Like, when you're given that opportunity, go for it. Don't worry about
100%.
whether you think you're qualified enough or whether you think you can do it. Like, if you've got the slightest thing that you can do it, go do it.
But I also think like for me, one piece that I would tack onto that though is like treat every opportunity though like it could be the only time that you get to do that. And the only reason I say that is not because, you know, life is fleeting and you'll only ever get to do this once, but because I feel like you really have an appreciation and you really take it in when you make sure you don't take it for granted and you're like, I might never get to do this again. So you really fully do it to the best of your ability. And then if you get to do it again, you go, oh cool, when I did it last time, I remember I was like this and this time I know a bit more, so let's push it even further and treat it like it's like I might never do it again. But yeah, that was like I said, it's so, for me it's difficult to pick an in-beer one because every time I think I have one it gets trumped by something else. But outside of beer, I would say mine is probably getting my dual citizenship. That is something that I'm probably the most proud about because
I bet you know more about the UK than I do.
I definitely know more about the UK than my husband does because we did one of the practice quizzes and I passed and he didn't. So a lot of the people that I worked with at the time as well also knew more than that. They like could not believe some of the questions that were asked. I was like, meh. So I was very proud of that because that was not a cheap experience. It was not an easy experience. And I mean, I know that I'm, for lack of a better way to describe it, but it is the way that a lot of us talk about it, is like we're the right type of immigrant to the country. Like even being the quote unquote right type of immigrant,
right,
you still have like a whole bunch of hurdles that you have to get over. And until you get your even when you get your citizenship status, it doesn't really, like, it doesn't make everything whole and suddenly you're like, cool, I 100% belong there. But it definitely helps. It's like you having like being like, I'm going to get this you know, beer server certification, so you can be like, look, I can talk about things. Like it's like me having that passport. I'm like, look, I'm here now. But yeah, that's mine. My next question for you: if you were to win the lottery tomorrow, and let's just call it like £1 million, just because that seems realistic to win in a lottery, without being too much or infinite money, what would you do with it, and how do you think that your day-to-day life would change?
I think I would probably invest it in my business, part of it in my business. I know everyone thinks, you know, you tell me about like, I'd build a brewery and I'd brew all this beer and blah, blah, blah. I don't think I would. I think I want to stay on like the education and the like, that kind of, it's not outside of beer, but you're kind of the other side of beer kind of side of it. And I think I'd do more education, properly put money into and have the time to build the business more, because that's the thing at the minute, with it being on the side of my day job, you don't quite get as much to be able to invest into it. And then maybe build a home brewery just for me to play in.
You got to treat yourself a little bit. It's funny you mentioned about like I'd build a brewery or whatever, because I used to always think like my stance is, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would not stop working because I enjoy having, like, I feel like that gives me a purpose to do something every day. If I just sat back and did nothing, like,
I wouldn't do nothing.
I'd feel bored.
I'd just do the work that I wanted to do.
But that's it. You do the thing that you're passionate about that maybe wouldn't give you the same ability to focus on it if that was your sole focus. And I used to be like, I'd start up like a pub that had like a little micro brewery in the back, and it would be like a gaming pub with board games and video games. Now I think that I'm like, I'd probably like to go into beer events. Because then I could focus all my time and energy into that, and
right, so when we both win the lottery,
have the money to keep things going.
you do the event planning, I'll come along and do all the knowledge and beer tastings and all of that, and then we can just bring all of our friends who are the breweries in to bring the beer in.
There we go. There's our future sorted. There is our future sorted. We just need to start playing the lottery. I'm also conscious I just asked you 2 questions, so you get to ask 2 questions in a row, and you get to answer them as well if it's not specific to me.
Okay. What was the first beer that you really remember being absolutely delicious?
I don't know. It was, I honestly don't think I could give you a specific name, but I could tell you it's probably Magic Hat.
Okay.
It was probably Magic Hat because I don't want to be like, oh yeah,
yeah, it was this one.
Red Stripe or PBR or something like that. I think like that's the moment that I was like, that's what I was used to drinking. And actually, like Red Stripe, it was like so good in the summer, like a nice Red Stripe in the summer out of the little stubby bottles. It was like, yes. But like I wouldn't be like, oh, that was amazing or anything like that. I do think it was probably a Magic Hat of some sort. It was probably the number 9.
Yeah, number 9 was good. That was a good beer. And what do you perceive as the differences between like the US beer scene and the UK beer scene that you've experienced?
Oh, that's a good question. That's like a really big one to unpack. I'll keep it as short as I can. Basically, I kind of think like my experience in the US is like you can't even scratch the surface of the beer. Like I feel like over here you could realistically get super involved in the overall country, the nation, not just country, but the whole nation, UK beer scene, because there's a lot of breweries, but it's a manageable amount. When you think about all the breweries across, you know, all the states in the US, it's just so many, and you won't even get to visit most of them. And I mean, as we've seen, it's so difficult to move beer. It's like unless you're going
rules are weird. They're weird.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's very frustrating.
I get it. So there is I had to learn a little bit about the 3-tier system for my sister own, and I get that it was like originally put in place because over here, like there were big breweries that had kind of dominated the market, and so they were trying to stop that. But now it's just stopping breweries from being able to even get in front of like a small amount of people outside of directly outside their door almost.
I mean, yeah, I think I'm very being where I'm from, I'm very blessed that we've got like some amazing breweries that are within easy driving distance or commuting distance or whatever. And I'm the town that my family lives in, again, not gonna identify at all, but literally like we've got an amazing liquor store, aka the equivalent of a bottle shop, because it's got all like our liquor stores have all the mainstream stuff and the wines and the liquors and all that, but like it has such a good craft section in addition to all that. And yeah, like I'm trying to think of like I've seen the 450 like North in there, I've seen KCBC in there, and I mean those aren't necessarily like local to us, but they still have that really good selection of stuff, so I'm very spoiled in that regard. But and also just like the New England area in general, like across the states, has just such amazing breweries with such like a range of stuff. But even when you think that you've like, cool, I've drank all the beer that, you know, Massachusetts has to offer, or I'm very immersed in the whole New England beer scene, it doesn't even like you can't even begin to register like what's being had in another state. Like I couldn't tell if you're like how, like when we were speaking to First Sip Brew Books, and it was like hearing those breweries and the ones they've dealt with, I was like, honestly, or you know, Shannon, or you know, Brew Export, I was like, I haven't even heard of some of these and they sound amazing. But over here, I feel like you can get more of a handle on things.
Yeah.
You can stay in the loop with everything that's out there that you want to try a lot easier than you can in the US.
Yeah, definitely. I think
that's definitely, I hope that made sense and sort of answered the question. But I also can't pretend that I'm an expert because I, you know, having not lived over there for, you know, going on almost a decade, weirdly.
You don't need an expert to have an opinion about your experiences.
No, but I'm sure there's like so many other very specific things that someone that lives there at the moment could tell you. But I just, I
didn't ask for that. I asked for your experience.
Back to the second question you had then, what's the first beer that you remember? Would it just be the Sam Adams?
Yeah, it was Sam Adams. It definitely was. Like I remember drinking like having like a Carling and a Budweiser and probably Heineken as well, and just being like, just doesn't really taste of anything. Like it wasn't interesting. And it wasn't until like, and I'd had Corona as well when I was on the ship, because we'd have crew
You got
parties,
to.
and then
It's a thing you gotta have.
well, we'd have crew parties, and you got free drinks, but it was whatever was in the massive bin full of ice, and it was always like the free stuff. So it was like Corona and Heineken, Smirnoff ices.
Oh no.
But then like when I was on, it was my third ship contract, but my second contract on the cruise line that I ended up on being most. And they had Sam Adams. I'd never seen it before. And I got handed one and was just like, oh, I don't drink beer. Oh, what is this? It's got flavour.
That's again where like I feel like so spoiled, because it's like I've grown up with that as like being a normal option of like when you go out,
and it wasn't always available.
There's always a Samyes. Like you can always find some version of like Samye wherever you go.
It managed to, like, we got it fairly regularly from then on, but there were times where there was just no Sam Adams, and I was just like, what why have we got no Sam Adams? What are you talking about? And then that same contract, we were there over Halloween, and so in like the autumn time, we managed to get Oktoberfest on as well, and we were just like, oh
So
my
good.
god, what is this?
So good.
Yeah, so good. And then when we got, the thing was, when we got Oktoberfest at a crew party, that was amazing.
Was everyone like, way?
It was just like, literally, if you're like going over to the bit, because it was literally like the big, like massive,
I could just see you like
bins.
slumping over and you're like, oh, what do we
They
have
would just pull all the bins out full of
today?
ice and shove loads of drinks in them, and then they'd just all be out around wherever the party was, depending on what was happening. It sometimes they cordoned off a crew area, sometimes it was in the crew bar. That particular contract, I said, that was the one where we went into dry dock, so all the passengers were taken off, the ship gets taken out of the water, they're mending it, so we had free run of the ship. So we had a pool deck party. We weren't allowed in the pool though, because the pool was empty. But we had it on the pool deck, and there's just bins everywhere full of, and like one of us rummaged through and was like, oh my god, there's Oktoberfest, and everyone was like digging through. And my very last,
it seems like a Sam Adams advert the making.
But then my very last contract, I was on what was going to be the Miami ship. They started doing bigger ships that would be out of specific places, but this one, when we were in its inaugural run before it got into its regular dealings, it stopped in New York, and we were there over Super Bowl weekend, and it got bought out by Budweiser, and they covered up all of our branding with Budweiser branding. Everyone that worked like front of house had brand new uniforms that was Budweiser, everything, and it became the Bud Light Hotel. And so everything that we normally gave out, or that was normally available to passengers, got changed to Budweiser AB InBev products. So once that ended, they didn't take any of those products off, so there was still lots of AB InBev products on the ship. And so they were just like, massive crew party, here's all these things. But there was things like Goose Island in there, because they hadn't long taken over Goose Island, and it was just like, I'm like rummaging, people were like, oh, what's that, because it wasn't a Corona, and I'm like getting in there. Was like chocolate shock tops, and there was Pepe Nero saisons, and there was like
I
Hills
did
IPA,
love shock top,
right?
yeah,
I loved
shock top. Was a good one.
There was
yeah.
the apple crisp shock top, the chocolate choc tops, there was Pepe Nero saison, all of these, and there's me and my friends like digging through, because no one wanted to drink them, because they were like, what are these weird beers, where's the Corona and the Heineken? And we were like taking them, filling our pockets with them before we went back to our room, so that we had a fridge full of decent beer.
Oh, that's so good.
And still AB InBev beer.
No, I mean, like, I just, again, like, I've said it before, I'll say it again, like, I don't hate Goose Island or any of those. Like, it's not that
with the Bourbon Counties over her shoulder,
and I show off. Yeah, like, I don't hate them. It's one of those things that it's like, it's obviously, if I'm buying a bunch of beer, that's probably not what I'm buying. But like, if I'm out somewhere and it's not like a craft specific bar, like, I probably will have a Goose Island.
Yeah,
and I don't hate the taste of it. It's just, obviously, that's not the first thing. It's not that that's my first port of call, pardon the cruise pun, but
yeah, it was good times.
Cool. Okay, next question for you. Is there a film that you know line by line, like by heart, that you would still choose to watch repeatedly regardless?
Yeah. Labyrinth.
Fair. Yeah, okay, fair.
Like I'm a massive David Bowie fan, and it wasn't until my teenage years that I realized why I was such a massive David Bowie fan. And it's because I've always loved Labyrinth. Simple.
That's solid. That is solid. How often do you watch it, like quite a bit, or is
I
it
haven't
just
watched
something
it
that,
in
like
a while.
whenever
I
it's
haven't-
on, would you be like, yes?
Yeah, I'd totally put it on.
Click off
Like
of
I haven't
this.
watched it in a while. Just because my husband's got this really weird thing where he doesn't like animation or puppets or anything like that. He
Right,
he
okay.
thinks they're for kids. So if we're watching a TV show and they have like for example, we were watching Community when we were in lockdown,
And they did the
he
puppet
got really annoyed with the puppet episode and with the claymation episode because he was like, why have they done this? This is for kids. And I was like, it's just another way of like
Oh,
being
you'd hate us
creative.
because that's
What are you
all we
talking
do
about?
is watch like anime and
I love
Rick
it.
and
Like I don't
Morty
see. I
and-
literally, if it's good, I don't care if it's animated. I don't care if it's. But I don't care. Like if it's good, I'm watching it. But he's got a real thing about it, and I think it's because I think he was deprived as a child because he doesn't know the Disney films. Like he doesn't really know Muppets. He doesn't know any of that. And I was like, you have missed the joy.
When I found out I could watch the Muppet Show
puppetry.
on
Right.
Disney Plus, I was like,
I'm like,
oh my
yes,
god, the
please.
Muppet Show.
Right, exactly. And he's just not into it. So then I can't watch it when he's around because he's just like, no, this is for kids. I love it.
I wish he'd just give it a try. At least so there's got to be one out there, but he's already turned off. He's just like, no.
Yeah, no, he won't. I've tried, believe me.
I'm trying to think. Like mine would probably be Scott Pilgrim. I've watched that film more times than I can count. I loved the comic. The whole reason I watched the film was I love the comic, and they did a really great job turning the graphic novels into a film. And yeah, it was. I don't think like Michael Cera's great. He's not like the same, Scott as in the comic, but like he's really good in it, and the whole thing is great. And like Rick and I watch that all the time. And then there's like things that they did not age well at all, but we still watch them because it's like it's this nostalgia of like the time that like I was great, like Superbad, like stuff like that, like Superbad and those films we could watch like 100 times over. I could probably watch even something stupid like Borat. I could probably watch that like 100 times over just because of that nostalgia.
I love me a Jay and Silent Bob film.
Oh yeah, that's good as well.
Yeah,
that's good as well.
Yeah, love me a bit Kevin Smith.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about how at work we'll just be like, very nice.
What topic do you think you are most knowledgeable about?
Came across that one, but I didn't write that one down.
I thought it was a really good one.
I feel like I genuinely feel like there's no topic that I'm like super knowledgeable on.
No,
like I think like
right. So there's
I think that I genuinely know like lots of bits from lots of things.
All right, let me rephrase
I'm a jack of all trades, but master of none.
What thing could you just talk to someone about without any prep?
I could if we're gonna obviously beer, I could probably talk to someone about beer
other than beer.
Oh, other than beer. Okay. I could probably
because then I say if you say that about beer, then you need to stop saying, oh well, I don't know, in my opinion, blah blah blah. I don't know, because you are knowledgeable about beer. Done.
I'm just thinking like when it comes to effortless conversation, I would say like obviously beer first and foremost, but if we're taking that out of the mix, because obviously a beer podcast, so we get that. I would probably say I could probably talk a fair amount about Japan, just from personal experience and travel and other things that I won't say to identify myself on that, but there are other aspects of where I'm involved in certain things that I know a bit more about that stuff. And then maybe I'd probably say like I guess part of that is like anime, TV. Like I could probably talk a fair amount about like murder mysteries and stuff, like true crime. I do listen to like, and I watch a lot of true crime, so I can probably talk a lot about that without prep. But yeah, I don't know, same back to you then. Not beer related, because obviously we know that you're beer related, everything.
Costume, specifically probably costume design. and making, embroidery, and Gem and the Holograms.
Fair. Oh, I could probably talk a lot about video games.
Yeah.
Thinking about that, like as I was sat on that, I could probably do a lot of chat about gaming.
Yeah.
Without any prep. Fair. If you had to go without internet or phone connection, let's just say, like, cut off from everybody, how would you fill your time for a few days?
Embroidery, easy peasy, and probably some form of sewing and reading. Do you know what? I don't get enough time to read. I've always been an avid reader, and I just don't get enough time anymore. Like,
Same.
to just sit down and read. I would literally I'd be like, give me a pile of books, I'm just gonna sit and read.
Same. I think without tech, if you had to give like the perfect day or whatever with no tech, like no screens, I'd probably sit there, have a beer, listen to my records.
Yeah.
And
yes, records.
Or play board games with my husband, depending. If it's like just me on my own, it would be
Gordon will not play card games, he will not play board games.
All of that over there, that whole shelf area, that's all board games. And then I've got my records over there. So it'll probably be like either alone, beer, records, and book, or with someone else, board game.
Yeah, easy.
Cool. Your next speed dating question, go.
What we're talking about books. What was the last book that you read?
Can I take it? So at the moment, I am reading a project management book.
Okay.
If I take that out of the mix, the last book I read.
Last fun book that you read.
The last fun book I read. It is. This is great because it sort of all loops together, actually. Because I told you I could talk about Japan probably quite well. I read Tokyo Vice by Jake Adelstein. So he's a journalist who worked the beat in Japan on the crime beat in Tokyo and some other areas as well. I won't go into all the details, but there's going to be a show coming out and I wanted to really read it. And obviously this is based, like, this is a true story that he's written based on his experience and working with the Yakuza and everything. And it's an incredibly interesting read. I found this book through hearing about the TV show, obviously, and I was like, I want to beat the TV show to coming out to read that. But what set me off on that path to find out about that was a podcaster / YouTuber called Abroad in Japan, and he also recommended The People Who Eat Darkness, which has to do with the seedy underbelly of maid cafes and that whole thing in Japan. I don't know if you remember the murder of Lucy Blackman.
No.
So that was like a British woman that had gone over to work in one of the maid cafes, or not escort, but one of those scenes, and she was murdered, and it sort of investigates that whole area. And that's a true story as well. And that was really good. That was written by a journalist as well. And also there was a book on the tsunami that the same guy, Richard Lloyd Parry, I think his name is, he wrote about a tsunami as well. So those 3 books are the last 3 that I read for fun, and they were obviously all based on Japan, and they were really, really, really good reads, hard to put down. How about you?
So I've read a lot of beer books recently.
Take the beer books out of the equation.
Yeah, so I'm currently reading A Woman's Place is in the Brew House by Tara Nurin. Highly recommend it. Probably the last fun book I read was, can I remember the title of it? It's the prequel novel to the Hunger Games. Songbirds and Snakes, I think it's called. It's a ballad of songbirds and snakes. It's not quite as good as the books of Hunger Games. Highly recommend reading the books if you've only seen the films, because it just doesn't quite really get into like the grit of the books. Like when I read those, I know the young adult, I don't care.
I do as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
like, depending on the topic,
I'm into it. Yeah. Good book is a good book. They really, like, when I first read the first book, The Hunger Games, I was literally like so shocked, because I was like, this could happen. Like, we could literally take like,
I'm stressed thinking about it.
Right, we could literally just take, like, could have a dystopian future where people take over, and we're going to just, we're so into reality TV, we're going to cull people off by sticking them in an arena and let them kill each other. Like I could see it happening. I could totally see it happening.
I feel like we're not that far.
We're not far off it, right? We're not that far away from that really happening. So, and the way it was written and like the gritty, like real bit, there are bits of it that I've got a real strong imagination.
Yeah.
So I was saddened by the films because they did not bring to life what was in my head. It's always the way. But so this was the prequel, and it looks at President Snow when he was a teenager. It's interesting. It's not quite as good as the books, but it was okay. It was all right. Like lots of people were like, no, it's terrible.
It doesn't have to be terrible to be like, yeah, it's not the best.
It was all right. It wasn't as good as the others, but I see why it was written, and it was okay. And it kind of gives you some interesting backgrounders, and you start to link things up and see, oh, that happened because of that, and that happened because of that. I've read a lot of dystopian novels.
I've read a lot of true crime. I've read a lot of true crime and stand-up.
A lot of dystopian. There's another series that I really like called The Parasol Protectorate, which is a steampunk series.
Cool.
And it also has vampires and werewolves in it. Brilliant. I love it. Love those. They're really good. And I've read all of those, and then there's a separate series that's set in the same world that's really good. That's called The Parasol Protectorate. That's really good. And then also I read the prequel novel to The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh,
no, it's not the prequel, it's the epilogue to The Handmaid's Tale, which was harrowing.
Yeah, I was
again, it's not quite as harrowing as The Handmaid's Tale.
How do you how do you even?
I mean, yeah. So if you've read The Handmaid's Tale, or watched
the series was great as well.
The series took some detours from the book, but it was still amazing. It's another one of those where people were like, oh, you did this to a character and you shouldn't have done because it's humanized them, blah blah blah. But again, it was good, but just not quite as good. I think it's one of those where because you've got this, when you've got a book that's just so good,
you're already up here.
Yeah, the bar's a bit high, so it was still good. And then I read another one called Voxer. No, Vox.
Hard to beat that.
Another dystopian one. This one, women are limited to, because see, there's a theme here. Called Vox. Women are limited to
another dystopian.
They're limited to a certain number of words a day, and they've got bands on, and if you say more, and it tells you how many words you've said, and if you get over that word you get shocked.
That's interesting.
Really interesting.
All right, yeah, I'll read that one. That sounds interesting. Called Vox. Do you have anything that's on your do you have anything on your upcoming read? I've got Hokkaido. Unsurprisingly, I've got Hokkaido Highway Blues by Will Ferguson, and that's about hitchhiking. A guy's real, I believe it's actually a fiction of a guy, a non-fiction of a guy's experience, basically doing hitchhiking down the Cherry Blossom Trail.
Okay.
So yeah, that's. Do you have anything on your what's to read next book?
Oh yeah, my to read pile is ridiculous, but I've
got so many. Got so many. No, what's the next one?
My absolute favorite author is Terry Pratchett, and I've not read all the way through the Discworld series on purpose because I'm trying to stretch it out. And just any Discworld novel I recommend to everybody. Read all of them. The Witches are my favourites.
Next speed dating question. What was your dream job as a kid?
I've got that one on my list as well. So I thought I was going to be a teacher. Funny. So I thought I was going to be a teacher. Then my mum was like stay-at-home mum when we were kids. Then when my brother went to primary school, she went in as helping mum. while she was there, his teacher was just like, oh my God, you should become a teacher. You're so good at this. So my mum was actually at university becoming a teacher while I was at secondary school. So then she became a teacher and I was in the classroom with her and I was like, oh, I don't think I want to do this. And I suppose like one of those little dream jobs that you never think you're going to really do was a singer, just because I really liked musicals. I'm not a singer. Instead I worked in theatre in a area that I enjoyed way more. And also every now and then I would just add backing vocals off stage. Like every now and then they'd stick a microphone in my face.
Everyone would do that though.
I'd do backup vocals. So there you go. What about you?
I do backup vocals, but in my mind and in the shower. Funnily enough, when I was a kid, when I was like little, like quite young, I wanted to be a singer in a rock band for sure. I wanted to be a rock star. I think I've actually written in like things in school that I wanted to be a rock star. It's funny, like me when I was younger, I used to with my cousins, we used to learn the Spice Girl. Well, we already knew the Spice Girl songs because the Spice Girls were really big. Yep. And we used to learn the choreography and then we'd put on shows for everybody.
Yeah.
We'd call everybody in and be like, we're ready now.
Yeah.
And I was always Ginger Spice because I was always on, like, I hated it because people wanted to give me Posh Spice because my name. And I was like, okay, she's not my favorite. Ginger's my favorite. And no one would ever give me the ginger things. And that was really annoying. That's when I was like quite young. That's what I wanted. And then when I got to be like teenage years, I really wanted to be an adolescent psychologist. However, I know that my brain is not wired for science and math. And so like I love watching like documentaries and stuff on psychology and stuff like that. However, when it comes to actually going to school and doing everything you need to become a psychologist, like I was like, nah. I kind of didn't know what I was going to do. I just thought probably when I got to my late teens, early 20s, I was like, I'd really quite like to be a bartender. Just, being a project manager, which I love. So I can't really complain.
I never thought I was going to work in IT.
Tech. It's really cool. I mean, working in tech is really, really like, I cannot complain. It is pretty cool, some of the stuff we get to do. Get into project management where I'm not the one that has to know the ones and zeros is really great. So,
okay, off the back of that, what is your fantasy rock band?
Fantasy rock band?
So you have to pick. So it's not a real rock band. So you take people from all the different rock bands and you build your fantasy rock band.
Oh, I don't know.
Played this on a art trip to France once. It's a great game on the coach.
I don't know if I could make one. Like, I genuinely don't know.
Do you want to hear mine?
Okay.
Okay, so on drums, Dave Grohl. On guitar, Slash.
A solid pick.
On vocals, Gwen Stefani and Adamant.
That's solid. I don't think I could even. I'm going to pass on that one. I don't think I can answer that. I genuinely just don't. I honestly, like, there's too much that I like. There's too many people that I like, but then I also like. So there's too many people I like, but then also, I think the thing is like there'll be. I've always been like this, right? So there's been like people that when I was younger, I'd love these bands, but I couldn't tell you a single person's name that was in the band.
Right.
But then I'd have people that would be like, oh my God, like, I don't know, just take Fall Out Boy as an example. People be like, oh my God, Pete Wentz is so cute. And I'm like, is that the lead singer? Yeah. Is that like, which, like, I don't know which one that is. I know now that's, I think he's a bassist. I don't know. I know who he is, but I don't know which guitar or bass, one of the two.
Yeah.
But like, I was never that person that was like, oh my God, I've got such a crush on like all these people. I was never like that. Right. I mean, I could tell you all the Beatles, like, 100%. But when it came to like bands I like I couldn't just be like, yeah. Like, I know Dave Grohl and I know the people you've listed, but yeah, I don't think I could put together a band. Like, I'd struggle because I'd be like, it's too many choices. There's too many good choices. I don't think I could narrow it down.
Overwhelmed you with what I thought was a fun question.
Yeah, it's too much. My brain's shut down. I've just had a meltdown. I like too many different things as well that I'm like, I going through the encyclopedia in my head and I'm like, I take music questions very seriously because music's very important to me. And I'm like,
well, that's why I thought it'd be a good question. Apparently not.
Too much. My brain is shut down. Yeah, pass. So are you more of a city person or a country person?
I got this one down, but I was going to ask you, do you prefer city breaks or camping?
Two separate questions. Do that. Are you a city or country person versus to live? Then we'll talk about holidays.
I think I'm a country person. I don't really like living in the city. I mean, we've kind of got the best of both worlds where we're here because I'm like out in a village and then I can just drive 20 minutes into Canterbury, which is a city, but it's still fairly rural. Like, it's not London. So, I like that about where I am. What about you?
I think I'm the same where I live at the moment, but I'm definitely a city person. Yeah. You put me in the middle of the country, I would hate it. Like, I find that I could go for a break and that would be fine. But long term, I would hate it. It's too quiet. It's not close to things. I love being in a city. Like, I love noise. Like, I fall asleep watching TV or listening to something. Like, I need something. Had
cruise ship roommates who have to have the TV on when they go to bed, and I'm like, I don't want the TV on. I just want to go to sleep.
Oh, so I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that for somebody else. So I'd be listening, like, I'd put my headphones in and I'd listen to a sleep podcast or something like that. Like, I just
TV on.
I could not, if it's quiet, can't do it. But then I guess when it comes to city break versus camping, that's really difficult because I like them both for their own reasons. I love camping because I love being around friends, drinking, playing games, hanging out by the fire, barbecue. And that's really great. Like, I could do that for a weekend. I can take the dog, I can be out in nature, I can go hiking, I can do all that fun stuff. But then, like, city breaks, I really love seeing other cultures and going and visiting historical sites and trying new food at really good restaurants and seeing new breweries and stuff like that. So I don't know, I couldn't pick one or the other. It's just which is in the right moment with the right people, if that makes sense.
Same.
What about you?
Same, but Gordon hates camping. So I don't get to do it.
So we go camping every year. We go camping every year. I mean, it's easy because like when you have a dog, it's the easiest thing you can do with the dog and still get to go somewhere.
I took him glamping once, so we were in a pod, but it was still kind of like camping because we didn't really have like anywhere to cook or anything, so we still had to get like the barbecue and stuff out. And he was okay with that because it wasn't in a tent. But I don't think I'll ever get him in a tent. I suggested it when we were going to the Festival of Beer, and we ended up just going for the day. But I think even if we'd have gone to the Festival of Beer, he'd have booked a hotel. I would not have got him under canvas.
Fair enough. We've just been slowly accruing camping stuff because we like.
I mean, I have camping stuff because I go.
We've been slowly like upscaling it. Where we're like, okay, now we get this thing because we've gone camping enough that we can justify buying this table or a new chair or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm gradually getting bits, but they're just for me.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Treat yourself.
Yeah.
What's your go-to alcoholic drink outside of beer?
Probably a margarita. If I can get a decent one. You cannot get decent margaritas in the UK. Soz.
No, I love a strawberry marg, and you cannot get a strawberry marg.
You cannot get good margaritas over here.
You got to make it yourself.
I'm sure there is, there are bartenders that are cursing us right now, but I've been to Mexico and, had a lot of Tex-Mex. I've been to Texas. Like, I've had all that southwestern type stuff and cannot get a decent margarita over here. What about you?
That's like when my dad's come to visit. It's like when my dad's come to visit and he gets a martini. Like, he loves like a I don't know if it's a dirty martini or just a martini. And he's just like, I don't understand why they keep putting like lemon slices in it and stuff. And he's like, this does not belong in my martini. And I was just like, Dad, it's just the British way to make a martini. I don't know what you want me to say to you. Like, he's like, I just want it Bombay Sapphire. An olive, like, what is this about? I was like, I don't know what to say to you. That's just what they do.
Yeah.
My go-to
I don't really
drink a lot outside. It's probably prosecco.
Yeah, I don't really drink anything other than beer anymore.
I don't either, but the only reason I'd say, I mean, I do, like, I like other drinks, but I never make the time to have them, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
love gin. Like, personally, I love gin. I
don't
love
like
gin
gin.
cocktails, and I just love
No.
cocktails, like, overall. But I don't ever make the time to do it. Like, I'll have wine on occasion. The only reason I say Prosecco is just because my in-laws, that's like a lot of what they drink. So that just tends to be second nature of what I have.
Yeah.
But it's only because of that. It's not because I'm like, I love Prosecco over having gin or anything else. So
Yeah. What would the title of your biography be?
I think we should, our speed dating question, we should end there, because that's my last one as well. Oh, I don't know. I think it would probably be, I don't know. I think it would be something along the lines of like, shit you didn't ask for, but I don't give a fuck. Because I feel like that's 90% of my life is like, this is unsolicited. I'm going to tell you my opinion on this, or I'm going to do this. But then also, like, I'll be like, I'm quite an open book. Like, really, if someone asks me something, like, I'll be honest. I'm comfortable talking about all aspects of myself, and I'm like, here, let me tell you something that you didn't ask for, but I'm going to tell you anyways. But then also, if it's not the right thing to say or whatever, I'll give a fuck. I've just said it. What about you?
Either she said she would and she did. Or do it mine own. That was my first sentence.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. I feel like yours is more like, yours would be like this. These are supposed to tell you
Feminist manifesto.
what somebody, but like the whole question of like, what is your autobiography? Like, that is all supposed to be what like dictates a lot about like you as a person. And yours is just like really positive, uplifting. Like, she said she could do it and she did it, and like hero story of this amazing badass woman. Mine's just like, you didn't ask me, but I'll give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
Mine's like no fucks given. Mine's brute force, no fucks given. And yours is just like, I earned this. Look at what I've done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. We did have questions that were sent in, so I think it's only fair. I've asked a question. It would be a dick move to ask the question and not answer the question. So I don't know if you've got any. I've got some. Let me pull them up.
I do have one. Do you want me to ask yours while you're pulling them up?
Okay.
Right. So a question was sent in, and it was, "What's your favorite cheese and beer to pair with it?"
I'm so vanilla.
Yours is gonna be is yours gonna be a blue cheese?
Not. Mine will be like, oh
cheddar.
God, like, but I like a very mature cheddar, or like
with a nice salty,
like a nice aged cheddar or something. Like, I don't know. I like I'm not opposed to other cheeses, but I like a hard cheese, and I don't like one that's particularly moldy. So it's just easier for me to go with something like a mature aged cheddar, because that's I don't know, I think it's the thing that just goes with the most. And what would I pair it with? Probably I don't know, Flanders red, because I have quite taken a liking to the red winey style of beer. What about you?
My favorite cheese is Wensleydale and cranberry. Love me some Wensleydale and cranberry. And I paired a cranberry goes with it one time. Oh, it was so good. Really, really good. So basically it's like a fruity sour will go really well with that, because there's tang in the Wensleydale and the fruitiness kind of boisters the cranberries. Delicious.
I love a good
and the acidity cleans your palate. I keep whacking my mouth.
You're like, bam, bam, excited, and then you have it, boom, acidity.
And then like the acidity and the carbonation cleans your palate away. Delicious.
I love Christmas time, because I love when it's all the festive cheeses that come out, and you get like the little cranberry ones, and you can, they're like, little mix packs and stuff,
Yeah.
and you can get cranberry ones, you can get ones that are like marmalade ones, and
I've had a Wensleydale that had
port
raspberry, white chocolate, and champagne in it.
I had a champagne one as well. That like really nice. Those ones make me feel classy and I like them, but I don't have anything specific I pair them with. It is very much just a I want to eat cheese.
Yeah.
So whatever I feel like drinking when I want to eat cheese.
Yeah.
So I've got a question that was sent in. I'll get the one that's sent in that is probably one that only I can answer. That was from Chris on Instagram, and it's favorite D&D class. That's all rogue every day. Like,
yeah, I know.
Genuinely, like all the characters I ever play in any RPG, it's always rogue because I think that it very closely, I can closely tie it in with my personality. Just that class just fits me. So it doesn't matter the race. I'm always a rogue all the time, every game I play. And then the question was favorite other pen and paper RPG. Not played any other pen and paper RPGs. If you've got any suggestions of what I should play, let me know. But at the moment, I have just started in terms of RPGs. I have just started Final Fantasy 14 Online, which is an MMORPG. And surprise, surprise, I'm not a rogue, but that's because you can't start as that. You have to get to level 10 first, I think, or level 15, and then you can switch to a rogue. So that's what I'm trying to do, so I can switch over to a rogue. So I've picked a Pugliest, so I can get over and be a rogue as soon as possible with the least amount of learning curve. Joe, do you play any RPGs at all?
No.
Ever?
No.
Okay.
I never have. I've always wanted to give it a go, but
that's what I thought. I was like, this was probably one that only I can answer. It's really great. Highly recommend for anybody. That's something about me. I play D&D in my free time, and I love it. And it's really great because I've got such a great group of people that I play it with, and we drink and we fuck shit up, and I love it. And I do a lot of
I like the cartoon in the 80s. Does that count?
Yeah, completely counts.
Good.
And then I do a thing where I'm like, I want to do this thing, and they're like, why do you want to do that? I'm like, it's just what my character would do. Just chill, guys. It's fine. I invented coffee. Calm down. So question for both of us from Beers of London. What's your favorite beer? I feel like I'm going to defer to you because I cannot pick a favorite beer. I genuinely cannot.
Two. Wild Beer Co's Millionaire. Duchess.
What's really difficult is, like, I think up there I struggle to pick one favorite because I've got a favorite of different styles, because I find it's very difficult to be able to say here's my favorite stout. Like I find it difficult to pit a stout against pale ale, for example. Like I just don't feel it's fair. Their characteristics are so vastly different that how do you go about comparing and go, what if you like an array of tastes, how can you say one is better than the other? That's what I really struggle with. I struggle with rating systems, and I struggle with saying, I put this above that.
Let's put it this way. You can only take 2 beers with you to a desert island forevermore.
Hard.
Just 2. What are you taking with you?
It's harsh and it's hard. It's going to be something with pumpkin in it. Pumpkin spice. Yeah. Obviously. It's going to be a pumpkin spice beer.
Yeah.
The best one. The best one that I can find. Then again, I can't say on specific beers, but I'll say on style, probably a nice juicy boy of a New England double IPA, maybe something that's very like we get the marshmallow sweetness in it. Like I quite like the fruitiness and the marshmallowiness and all that. It's very difficult though, because I love such a variety.
Yeah.
For different
I wouldn't want to give up trying all the beers.
Different things. No, yeah.
For these 2 beers, like I still want to try all the beers, but those ones that I will regularly go back to and be like, yes, this is still 5 out of 5. I just find that such a struggle. That's like my arch nemesis of questions. Really good question, Beers London, but really difficult one. Here's a good question from Beers in Yorkshire. So if you had a brewery, what would you call it? Queen and Unicorn. That's what my
homebrewing
one's called.
Can you take that one out of the mix? Because I feel like that's a...
Why? That's I've named my brewery that.
All right.
I've already worked out a brewery name.
That's fair. At least to explain it then.
So I'm the Queen and Gordon's the Unicorn.
I like that.
Because he's a dickhead.
Please don't cut that.
But he knows that. Like, since we've started dating, right, I used to call him a dickhead for a really long time. And then, so this is the story, right? So I used to call him a dickhead because, you know, he's my husband. I mean, this is when he was my boyfriend. He was a dickhead. But I then found...
So I didn't realise that was the origin behind that. That makes me laugh so much.
Yeah, so I then found a birthday card that was a unicorn and a horse. And the horse is saying to the unicorn, you say unicorn, I say dickhead. And so we've called him a unicorn ever since.
I love that. I genuinely love that. No further questions. I love it. What would I name my brewery? I don't think I've ever put thought into this. It's not ever been something that's been on my radar.
It's not like a quick question. You can't answer it quickly.
It's not like but it's a really good question. I don't know. I think maybe I would probably do some play on my name. So Tori, but like Tory Gates, like Japanese Tory Gates.
I was gonna say
that's how I'm saved. That's how I'm saved in. That's like what the symbol of my name in WhatsApp, and it's also like how Rick's got it in his. And it's funny because when we're in the car and it reads out who's like sent messages and stuff, I'm in his phone as wifey with a Tory gate on both sides, and it will go Shinto shrine, wifey, Shinto shrine, red heart, yellow heart, blue heart, green heart, and it makes me laugh every time it reads out like Shinto shrine, wifey. So yeah, probably something on that, or like the fox god, like a kitsune, because it's like I love the whole like stories of like the fox gods in Japan, and Phelan looks like a little bubby fox, so yeah, I've got a soft spot in my heart for foxes, so probably one of those two. But then I'd probably have to, like, then the reality sets in and you're like, well, I'm not Japanese, so I can't really have a Japanese name for my brewery, can I? So so there we go. I'd have to put some thought into it, but
mine's really British because like you can see a pub called the Queen and Unicorn.
You probably could.
Yeah, you
definitely probably could, but it's really catchy as well. It rolls off the tongue, so that's a good one. I feel like I'd struggle to live up to yours. I
mean, I've thought about mine for a long time, so
those were all the questions from Instagram. We had, while I finish up the last of my double barreled, we've had a group chat going on with the Brave Noise ladies that we've been working on all of our stuff with, so they did send us a few questions that they had as well, so it's a perfect segue into talking about our Brave Noise Brew Day. It's just sort of I feel like we've talked about it quite a lot, so we want to bring it back to that and cover the bits that we didn't already cover, but this will be a good lead into it. So what motivates you? So these are questions both of us. What motivates both of you? I think for me, if it's in terms of beer specific stuff, what I find motivating is just the drive to meet new people and discover new breweries and try new beers. Like, that's what I find really motivating. Like, I really want to meet as many like-minded individuals as I can and try as many good beers from good breweries as I can. If there's a brewery that holds the same ideals that I have, like, I want to know them and I want to get to sort of see them and try their beers, and so that's what I find really motivating to me in the craft beer industry. What about you?
I suppose I just find beer really interesting. Like, it's been pitched for quite some time now as like the cheap drink, like the easy drinking drink, but actually when you really get into like the nitty gritty of how beer is made and how many different types of beer, like different styles of beer there are, and the different beer cultures around the world, like there's so much to know about beer. Brewers have so much choice in what they can make and how they can do it, and they can use like 1 grain and 1 hop, or they can use 10 grains and 10 different hops. Like, there's so many decisions that change what's in your glass. It's just really interesting, and I found that really interesting. And when I've tried to learn about it, there can sometimes be barriers because I'm not a man. Like, you know, people expect you to be a man doing this still. And so I want to find out as much as I can. And I want to learn more because I find it interesting. I want to talk to other people that find it interesting, no matter who they are. And I want to help other people to find that information as well, like no matter who they are. So
I guess in terms of like motivation outside of beer, it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds stupid, but it's quite topical at the same time. Whereas like, I think my motivation is just to like prove to myself and people around me that I'm like capable of doing things that maybe, as I don't know, generally society maybe thinks that I'm not, or people around me wouldn't typically. Like, I think the fact that I'm a woman in tech, like I don't, you know, I'm a woman in tech, I'm a woman that's into beer, I'm, you know, a woman that's into video games and comic books and board games, like all those things that historically women aren't the majority in. I mean, obviously it's getting better all the time, as to bring it back to the Beatles, but it's not at a point yet where it's like, oh, it's even numbers, or there isn't that stigma still. And I feel like what motivates me outside of beer is just to like prove to people around me that you don't have to be this one type of thing to enjoy what it is that I enjoy, or to be able to do what it is that I do. And I think the fact that I don't have a college degree as well makes me even more motivated, because I want to prove that I can do it without a degree and just passion and putting in time and effort to do something. So that's, I know that's quite deep for a beer podcast, but that's what motivates me.
Probably my motivations outside beer are the same. Like, I
smell so nice.
So I'm also in IT. The amount of times I've been referred to as, where's your IT guy? Hi, I'm your IT guy. But then as well, I've been in predominantly female positions and careers. Like teaching can often be mainly women, although I was a design technology teacher, but I was a textiles design technology teacher. As a wardrobe supervisor, that ends up being seen as a woman's role because it's got sewing in it. And even then, after I'd spent 8 years professionally on cruise ships doing that, I was still just considered the seamstress. You know, I worked with Broadway directors and created shows from scratch with them, and I was still just the seamstress. Like, no one is just lesser than anybody else. Like, everything, we all have our rightful, like we all have places, we're all different cogs in the teams and the machines and making things work. Like, there isn't a hierarchy to any of this. We're all just doing what we enjoy or what needs doing. So yeah, my motivation is just to do what I enjoy and make people be respectful. Just be a good person.
It doesn't
and be
take much to
respectful.
just not be a dick.
Right.
To be quite honest, it's
Yeah.
really easy to just not be a dick.
Yeah.
So another question we've got is, what do you want to do in life / with your life? That's a really deep question. And with the hard-hitting questions. I don't know, because I think my thing is like, I recognize I'm very fortunate with where I am in life. I mean, especially at 32, like I know a lot of people in my age back home like cannot afford to, there's so much student loan debt. And I mean, I did go to uni before I dropped out, so I feel the debt as well.
Yeah.
But there's so much pressure to put school first and get your master's degree and everything. They can't afford to get a job to pay for the debt and to own a home and everything. So I know I'm very fortunate. Like, I own a home, I've got a really great supportive husband, I've got a super cool dog, I've got cool friends, really supportive family, in-laws, immediate family, friends, all that. Really cool hobbies. Like, the thing is like, what do I want to do with my life? I guess it's like exactly what I'm doing now, except maybe like a little bit more travel. because of COVID, I used to travel, but I haven't really been able to. So just being able to travel again is what I'd really like to do with my life. If we're talking about like dream career wise, I guess it would be events and marketing in beer would be my dream. But realistically, to keep beer as a hobby, got to plod along. I mean, I'm happy with my job as well, so I can't even say that.
Yeah, same. I'm quite happy with where I am. Like, yeah, changes could happen, but there's nothing that I'm particularly like I'm striving for this sort of change in my life. I'm quite happy.
Yeah. We got favorite place to go. For me, that's probably, if we want to go repetitive, it's probably Japan. Because it's just so much. It's like you could go to Tokyo for a week and not even scratch the surface in Tokyo, and that's before you even make your way out of Tokyo. And the nature of things is like, while you have your historic bits, the more modern bits change so much because of like the rules around how long a business can stay where it is, and all that. It's just fascinating. So things are like, it's always interesting. Like you could go however many times, there'd still be new and exciting things. In terms of favorite places outside of the norm, I would probably say, this is a real cop out because it's like places that I haven't gone yet. I would say like my favorite places are to go somewhere new I haven't been. That's maybe not the most touristy place that everyone's going to, but yeah, I don't know. Japan's probably my number one answer of favorite place. But what about you?
Favorite places. I really enjoyed Alaska. I really enjoyed Hawaii. I really enjoyed Canada. Places that I haven't been to that I would like to go: Australia, New Zealand, and on the list, I want to go to Bamberg because I want all the smoked beers, please.
I just want to go to as many places as I possibly can. Yeah, I do like to go back home. That just doesn't. It just doesn't.
I did
feel,
enjoy
I don't know,
Boston.
but
Yeah,
thing is, I've got like, when I say home, it's like, it's weird. I have a situation where multiple places are my home.
Yeah,
I mean, I love Boston. I love New England, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. We've already covered our hobbies, really. Okay, let's end it with this one. Let's go. Weird or interesting fact that someone wouldn't know about you.
Weird or interesting fact: I've dressed up as a Spice Girl twice.
Amazing. Mine would be, I wore a black wedding dress.
Ah, yeah. Mine was purple.
Oh, well, yeah. That's one that people tend to, I don't know, not that they don't see it when I say that, people go, oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
But it's not the thing that people tend to think about initially. So yeah, that's mine. So getting into the Brave Noise, I've cracked mine. It's gorgeous, and if you've not gone, if you're listening to this and you don't have one, please go out and buy one. This is the can. It's got our faces on it. Happy days. It's got every badass lady and Ollie.
And
Ollie's very important to the process as well.
Be a wizard.
Be a wizard for sure. Great mentor. So yeah, it's got our faces on it. Pretty cool. You'll see all of our posts on Instagram, and they've got maps of everywhere you can get it. If you're local to me, it is the Hive. And it's done pretty well. If we're talking about like since launch day. My friend that works there messaged me saying someone came in the other day and bought a few cans of it, and he showed me where it is on the shelf, and like quite a few were gone, and it was pretty cool and pretty surreal to see that. Just the labor of our love that we had, and I feel like the road to that was really, like, if we think about it, we had to reschedule because
so many
COVID,
roadblocks in the way. COVID,
the storm that happened. We almost didn't get the ingredients.
Yeah, we almost didn't get ingredients. We almost didn't make it to the place.
Yeah.
Some of us didn't. Like the date changed three times. Yeah.
It boiled over on the day.
Yeah, we had a boil over, which had never happened in the brewery before. Like all the things.
But I feel like that made it even more love, and it's tasting like genuinely gorgeous. Like there's lovely tropical fruits, and it's so just, I don't know.
It goes really well with chocolate chip cookies.
Nice. Good idea. It's just this like lovely like creaminess to it as well. But then there's also this like a bit of like pininess in the background as well, which is just like, it's that nice contrast. And I feel like it is very well balanced, and it's just, yeah, it's lovely. So if we want to talk about sort of quickly about the brew day itself, the one thing that I didn't get to say last episode that I think I said it towards the very end, but I want to make this point very clear as well. I'm very thankful for Ollie and the fact that he let us do like literally everything. The only thing that we didn't do was handle chemicals, and that was just because it would be way too much to deal with, like health and safety for everything. But other than handling a little bit of chemicals, like he quite literally let us do everything. I got to measure the water out, and like, to me, I was like, do you want me to do this? And I was stressed because I was like, well, if this gets fucked up, that's it, I screwed it, and I didn't want that to be on me. And my brain thinks in, you know, inches, and he's like, measure it in centimeters. And I was like, and I knew it, but I was still like, oh, that's a lot of pressure. But I really appreciated that he literally let us do everything from lifting bags.
Yeah.
To
like
measuring out the
we
water.
literally turned up at the brewery, and he was like, I want all of you to lift a bag.
Yeah, unless you physically can't.
Like,
you physically can't lift a bag.
Yeah. Because that's part of the job. So
it is, and I genuinely think that, like, he probably, and when I said to him, I did say to him on the day as well, thank you so much for like letting us do it, like all of it. And he was like, yeah, why wouldn't I? Like, he was just flat out like, yeah, of course, like, why not?
That ladder to get up to the grain loft though is a little bit sketchy.
Terrifying.
A little bit sketchy. And then there's no edge to the grain loft either.
I found it fine going back down. It was the going up, I was like,
I was all right going up. Coming back down, I was like, I'm gonna fall and die.
I was fine coming back down. That was fine. And I mean, there was definitely like a railing around it, but there was bits that didn't have railing, and it was only because like Ollie was standing near the edge, and I was like, please don't, like, oh no, I can't witness this. Stressful, but it was an overall really good day, and I think we both got there. I think we were the first two to arrive, and I think we both, where it's situated, for anyone that's going to go visit them, because you can go and do brewery tours.
Yep.
You can go and have a drink there. It's really like, it's like a lovely little place in an industrial estate, as you'd think.
Like most of our breweries end up being, if they're not in a town centre.
Exactly, and you almost don't know it's there. Yeah. So I think we both individually drove by it, and then went to like where the little row of houses were, and we're like, we've not gone the right way. So if you go and visit and it looks like it's a place for big lorries to park up, you're in the right place. Go there. So yeah, we both arrived. The doggos were there, which I loved.
The dogs do not like me.
They don't like you.
It's fine. I can handle
it's right.
it.
I think they were it was big mood. They were having a big mood. Yeah. But they were so cute anyways, and they were doing what dogs do when you go in their personal space.
Yeah, it's fine.
And loved them. They were so cute. And then we got to do putting the grains in and lifting the bags. Tried to lift the bags on my I was like determined at one point. I was like, I'm gonna lift this bag.
I feel like those bags were bigger than the ones that were at
I feel like they definitely were.
Yeah.
But also you had to, because they had the grain hopper.
Yeah, it was high.
You had to lift it over, whereas like where we did the International Women's Collaboration Brew Day, it was like not as high of a lift, so it was a lot easier to sort of dump it over. I was determined. I was like, I'm gonna lift this bag, I'm gonna do it myself, because I'm just gonna prove I can do it. And I got it up to the top rail, but then because you have to lift it up even higher, I was like, I can do it. Needed Emma to help me, so me and Emma just dumped it.
To support each other and do things together. Like lifting things together doesn't make you lesser because you need somebody to lift it with you. That's teamwork.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's that thing of when I said to Ollie, oh, thank you so much for that. He was like, why? And I think he really underestimated the fact that you can go to a lot of breweries, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast or just individually to you and some others. A lot of times, like a brewery, you can go and do a collaboration somewhere, and ultimately they're not trying to be condescending. They're not trying to think you can't do something. They're not trying, there's no negativity or malice behind it. But the goal of a collaboration brew day is for the guest to have a really good time visiting that brewery. And if they think that they can make your life easier, lifting a bag because they do it all day, every day, chances are they might just do it. I'm not saying it's a hard and fast rule that everyone will do that, but it's something that they might not even think about, and they might just go, it's easier for me to do this because I do this day in and day out. And Ollie was just kind of like, cool, you guys are going to do it. And I thought that was just really cool, because he was like, yeah, it's tough, but you're going to do it. You're capable of doing it. And it felt, I don't know, it just felt really cool. And it was something that I felt like was worth mentioning from my side. What was sort of like the big highlight for you?
I like seeing how different systems work. It's like when I go on a brewery tour, I've done a fair few brewery tours now, and I like to see what new thing are you going to teach me today. So I'm starting to get the same way about going to breweries and brewing, because I've done a few now. But I found so where we put the grains in the hopper, it then comes down and mixes with the water to go into the mash tun. And I thought that was really interesting when Ollie was like, yes, I've got this slight curve on it, because if you do that, it twists the water and the grain together, and you don't have to do too much of a mix. And I was like, that's clever. That's just efficient, like little efficiencies that can make your life a little bit easier, that you can build into your brew house. I thought that was really interesting.
His pizza was also amazing.
Pizza was amazing. Yeah,
like,
pizza was really good.
Was
has he given
so
you
good.
Has he given you the base recipe yet?
I do, yep, 100% have that. But yeah, like the fact that it was just like, yeah, like we're gonna do all this, and then he's gonna go off and make pizza. And I think because like there's so much waiting around as well, he was doing other bits for other brews, and I felt so bad, because I was like, I just want to help do something, and he was like filling kegs, and I was like, I want to help. And I mean, he was so good at letting us ask questions, and like I was saying, like, how do you know when it's out, or how do you know when you stop filling a keg? And I think probably the best part was like just getting to spend the day with people that was like just such like-minded individuals, and getting to have some like really brilliant conversations.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And it was just really fun. It's really fun. And I just, everything it stood for. We got to have all the meaningful conversations in person.
5 stars, can recommend.
But yeah, we had a brilliant, I think like launch day was great. Like the fact we sold out before launch was blew my mind. Again, that was part of like going back to what I said about everything I think is the coolest thing gets trumped by something else. Like our beer sold out on trade.
Yep.
And then it was like, cool, let's see if we can shuffle things around and get some more in there. And then they did. And then it was like, cool, it's sold out before release day for consumer. And then it was like, okay, can we shuffle anything around here? Put a few more cans on. And it sold out again, like twice over.
Yeah, I've definitely had people ask me where they can get it, because they haven't been able to get one, which is amazing. I mean, it kind of makes you realise how small batch like some breweries create, and actually it's not as many beers as you think it is.
Agree.
And I didn't think we were going to be able to make as much hype as we have done. I think we did a good job.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's still way more posts to go about it. And you know, I very strongly believe that it's not about us versus other breweries doing it. It's about all of us doing it.
Yeah.
It's about as many as you can get doing it. Like I will buy and support any of them. I had someone messaging like, well, I can't get any, like there's none up in Scotland. And I was like, yeah, sorry, there's bottle shops. But also I've said like, you know, Fierce have done one, Vault City have done one, you know, if nothing else, maybe those being more local, you might be able to get your hands on those.
You're still supporting the cause and talk about it. This is the thing. We have made a brave noise about this beer. We need to make a brave noise.
Definitely not gone quiet.
We need to make a brave noise about all of these beers that are being created, because that's how we're going to create change. That's how we're going to raise awareness about why this beer even exists.
And I think you'll see more from us on this. Like, we're not just going to be like, cool, it's, you know, we've released this and that's it. It's done. We don't care about it anymore. It's out there. You've either bought it or you haven't.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're gonna, can't really say anything at the moment, but I think you'll find that this is not the last time that we talk about this. But I know this episode was mainly focused on the interview about us, but we felt like it would be amiss to not have a quick follow-up with the things that we hadn't had a chance to say, especially because we've now got it to hand. And when we recorded last episode, we did not. So it came literally, I think, like the next day. But yes, very excited about it. If you can still get your hands on some at the time to listen to this, like, please do check out what we've posted. You'll see everywhere it's available. If not ours, somebody else's.
Encourage your favorite brewery to make it.
Exactly.
There's
As we said
time.
in the last episode, ask the breweries you love to go and make it. Show them that you would support them if they made it, and that you really want to see it. It's not just about, you know, supporting women. It's not just it, as Emmy said perfectly on our last episode, it can happen to anybody. It can happen to men, it can happen to women, it can happen to any race, ethnicity, gender, or, you know, in between genders. Like, it could happen to anybody. So we have to stick up for each other. That's what this beer is about. Ask your breweries to show that they do care about everybody. So yeah, get off.
Because we know they do.
We know they do.
We know they do.
Cool. So Joe, if people have any other questions that they want to ask you, or I highly doubt that they want this, because they probably are sick of hearing us babble about ourselves anyways. If anybody for whatever reason wants to ask any more questions of you, where can people find you?
You can find me, I'm a Woman's Brew, on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. That's kind of the podcast page now. So message us about anything podcasty on there. My beer school, where I mainly hang out, is Love Beer Learning, and that is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest and TikTok. Mostly hang out on Instagram, but come find us there. And we have a website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk. There's a lovely blog there, and that also links to my YouTube, so there's some great stuff on there. And if you're not sure what we've been talking about and babbling about this brave noise malarkey, there is a video on my YouTube that will explain that to you. Find that in the link in my Instagram if you want to do that. And also we have an email address, which is lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. You can message me there. We're still taking messages for the podcast there. Let us know who you want us to talk to, what you want us to talk about. Tori, if people would like to talk to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you've got any questions, not that I haven't already spelled out my entire life story for you. If you want to know anything else about me or my drinking habits or just anything in general, you can find me on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism. So at the moment, our Brave Noise beer is showing as rating just slightly under 4%.
Nice.
Stars, 4 stars, not 4%, 4 stars out of 5.
That's nice.
It's 3.9. It was 4 yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I'm gonna go finish this, and with that note,
cheers.